Well, last week in his State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa said the much anticipated but frequently delayed switch from analog to digital TV transmission will begin this year and that it would be taking place in March. Several companies in the telecoms industry, including Telkom, have taken the sector regulator, ICASA, to court over the release and auctioning of high radio frequency spectrum. They're arguing that the regulator's process is flawed. Joining us to dissect this and other matters is the Communications Minister, Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. Good evening, Minister, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Firstly, today you were part of this process, the NAMISA private-public partnership that is taking place. Tell us a bit more about it. Minister, if you can please unmute yourself. Struggling to hear you there.
Thank you. Apologies for that. Good evening to you and to the viewers at home. Kathy, you will remember that at some point as the department, we launched a program wherein we intend to train about 1 million data scientists in our country, actual data and science-related skills. And therefore, we since partnered with Coursera, an online platform where through our training institute, NAMISA will be training 50,000 young people in South Africa. This, Kathy, we do simply because we've done a skills gap in terms of the digital skills that South Africa has and looked at the new economy that we are driving in terms of what are the new opportunities and therefore what are the skills that are required by South Africans in order to participate meaningfully and effectively in the economy. The project kickstarted last year. We just again called for new entrants now, people that must apply. Of course, we are targeting unemployed graduates because those are the ones that we say there's a need to make sure that we build digital citizens or bilingual citizens that are able to say in whatever area of expertise, but they can also do their work in the digital space.
So what will the program effectively do, especially for these unemployed young people?
The program, what it does, it gives them digital skills, as I said. At the center of that is software development, is machine learning, is data science, and other skills that are listed there. You will recall that one of the key drivers of the fourth industrial revolution is the data. And therefore, for South Africa to make sure that its data remains here, but most importantly, our people are able to utilize it effectively, we need to make sure that we build a pool of capable data technicians in order to mine it. And once we have that group of data technicians, they then able to advise government in planning, including the private sector, and at the same time, they're able to mine the data and help the SMMEs in terms of identifying market opportunities based on the customer behavior, on the things or the products that they are running. So we're not only looking at just giving them skills, we are giving them skills, but we are looking into our digital economy master plan, having partnered with the Department of Higher Education and DTIC to say, how do we make sure that those that want to be innovators themselves, those that would like to be startups or open their startups, they are given an opportunity, because we believe that the economy will be changed through the usage or utilization of the startup services. And this is a critical sector if we give them the skills on that. They help government innovate, they help the private sector innovate, they can help my post office to resolve some of the challenges that they're faced with.
Of course, one of the big things that is seen as a big opportunity driver, especially within the technology space in this country, is going to be the auctioning of spectrum. The deadline was set to be 2020, Minister. Why was that deadline missed?
If you recall, none of us foresaw what COVID would do to us. And therefore, ICASA was not immune to the challenges that all organizations went through during the COVID period. So the fact that we had the process of filling up of the councillors, after that, the COVID, as they could not do certain things that they were supposed to do, then they then came to a realization that it's better if they communicate with the nation as they did to say spectrum auctioning can only take place end March 2021.
Of course,
that's why it was delayed from 2020.
Of course, one of the difficulties that you face now is that a whole lot of role players, whether it's Telkom, MTN, are in the courts and they're challenging some of the regulations that have been put on the table around how the auctioning of spectrum is actually going to be rolled out. Do you think that there is a need for ICASA to go back to the drawing board on this one?
Well, because the matter now is before the courts, we will allow the courts to then provide their decision. And of course, as a policymaker, we are directly affected. As government, we have made plans in terms of looking at what we want to achieve. As you have said, one of the key drivers is the rollout of the spectrum, which not only benefits the telcos, but benefits the economy, because it means there's going to be more players, whether we talk on the build industry, as more towers must be built, but also the services that people or the innovators can then provide through the availability of the infrastructure that will be provided, including reducing communication costs. And all this depends or relies on the spectrum. Yes, the parties have taken the authority to court. They are citing the issues that in court. But for now, as the department, all we are banking on is that we do hope that whatever the court does, but these processes will not delay the release of the spectrum, because we all agree, including those that are in court, that South Africa can never be delayed again. We've already missed out on the spectrum economics. That should be a contribution, and we could have created many jobs, as I said earlier. Therefore, it's important that whatever the outcome of the court is, the parties be able to engage and try to find each other for the sake of the country, because it shouldn't be about Stella. It shouldn't be about a particular operator, but it's about all the parties coming together and saying what is at stake and what does the country stand to lose should this delay. But at the same time, we are saying it is possible, but it's at court now. There's nothing we can do as the department, and as we respect the court processes, ours to await the judgment and then take it from there.
Do you believe that some of the issues that are being raised by both Telkom and MTN could have been done with ICASA outside of the court process?
Well, I cannot comment on that because I will be influencing whatever that's happening at court. Apologies for that.
And let's talk about the potential delay then. Let's talk about the potential delay. Something like this requires strict timelines, I imagine, because it's a whole sequence of planning that needs to be taking place. So in terms of the department's own deadlines right now, what are the timelines that you're working with?
On spectrum release, the authority has still told us that they're still committed on the end of March, but we do take into consideration that it's now with the court, and that's why we are saying we do hope that with everything that is happening, they will not meet that deadline. But of course, at the center of this, Kathy, is the delays in digital migration that we are responsible for as the department, which is why you had President making an announcement during his address that come March 2022, South Africa would have migrated completely from the analogue platform. As we're talking about that, our plan, as we presented to the portfolio committee today, is to establish a rapid deployment committee that is made of the industry, not only the agencies under the department, but also industry players that come with different expertise to make sure that we engage and we are able to leverage on each other's strength and be able to fast track the project that we are talking about. We will be staggering the switch off starting from March this year. We are focusing in the Free State right now. From Free State, we are going to Northwest and then Northern Cape. Those three provinces are what we stand to have finalized by the end of March. And there, as I said, the broadcasters have committed that they will switch off the people. And then the second phase kicks on again, and then gradually until March 22.
So what is the date in March for the Free State where the switch is set to happen?
We had said end March, which means the 31st of March.
So it's going to be exactly on the 31st of March?
That's what the broadcasters and the agencies informed us about.
Okay. One of the things that has always been said about digital migration, and it's part of the reason why we've been told it's taken so long, is that government has always spoken about the infrastructure around the digital migration that needed to be in place before the switch has happened. So what work has the department been able to do in the Free State, which you say is the first province that you're going to be working with, in order to ensure that households there are in fact also ready for this change?
Well, when we refer to the infrastructure in relation to the digital migration, we're referring to the devices that must be availed for the people to be migrated. We've had engagements with the manufacturers. On Thursday, again, our teams are meeting with the manufacturers because as we continued to make certain changes on the models that our people must be migrated on, then they made a request last year when we met with them early January to say, they're requesting that we review the standards, which we took to the authority to work on it, and then finally took to the SABS that finalized the standards in October 2020. Unfortunately, that was the time where COVID was hitting everybody. Manufacturers could not go much massively in terms of providing more devices. And at the center of the migration, Kathy, is to make sure that devices are available. Most people have made a blunder of thinking that this project is about the households that are going to be subsidized. We are subsidizing only a component, about 4.7 million households in South Africa. There are so many households that have TV sets. Even those that we are not going to subsidize, they need to migrate for as long as they do not have decoders, as long as they do not have IDTV sets, which is why the engagements between ourselves and the manufacturers in terms of understanding their capacity was important. That's why now I said we're going back to them on Thursday, and after that we'll be coming to yourselves again to say, South Africans, you can now go to this retail shop and access the decoder or whatever model that you want to use to be migrated, because we'll be certain that in these areas and in these shops, these devices will be available. What we cannot do, cannot be able to do is to switch off once the devices are not available. And that has been one of the issues that have been really delaying, as you alluded correctly. So the policy uncertainty that was there, that we're making lots of changes, but at the center is the availability of the devices. And bear in mind, even these devices that we are talking about, although the manufacturers in South Africa, but the components, they get them outside South Africa. So when we put the timelines, that's why we go back to engage with them. It's important to take into consideration the time frames of the delivery or receipt of the components that they would have ordered outside South Africa. And once we meet with them and they are specific, we'll come back and update the nation. But all we are committed to do is to make sure that we clear the decoders that are at the post office. That's the first best, because already we have that, but we've experienced challenges in terms of installation where there was poor workmanship, and we have addressed those things, set up a rapid deployment team that must make sure that the project is monitored weekly and the minister gets reports monthly, so that if there's any snag, whether it's from the manufacturer side, we're able to pick up on that and see if we can talk to the Department of DTIC and SARS if needs arise. These are the things that we said, as the department alone, we're not going to succeed in ensuring that South Africans are migrated, and therefore the spectrum is availed.
Minister, we're going to continue this conversation in a moment. We're in conversation with the Minister of Communications, Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. All right, so we're still in conversation with Communications Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. Minister, before we went to break, you're speaking about the difficulties that you're experiencing when it comes to the manufacturing. Is it of the set-top boxes that are going to be needed for digital migration? So if there are these difficulties, how then can you be sure about the deadline for the 31st of March?
All right, Kathy, the difficulties I spoke about, remember I said currently we have the number that is at the post office, which the agency had procured about 1.5 million. And these are the boxes that already exist, which we are going to use in the Free State, Northern Cape and Northwest provinces. Therefore, the second phase is what is targeting the other provinces. It's not part of this 1.5. That's why we are certain on the 31st, based on the work that is being done by the responsible agencies, Centec being our signal distributor, being a project manager of installations. So that one is existing boxes. Of course, you may be worried, Kathy, because you may have read that Ellis has been reported that they are about to shut down their operations, but at least even though we take comfort that they're not shutting down tomorrow, which is why the engagements on Thursday are very important for us to ensure that at least we can get, because what is cited on the media reports that we saw was the fact that they are closing down because the business have not done well due to the delay of the digital migration. Now, if we're coming back to say we are fast-tracking the project. We've finalized the things that the industry had raised, and we are looking forward to making sure that everybody is migrated. Hopefully, they will be committed to that. I don't think they would want to miss an opportunity. But as I said, it was the issue of the components, because Ellis, for example, provides some of the set-top boxes and the aerials. But you find that there's lots of manufacturers that are doing the work that we're talking about. There's lots of them, the likes of CZ, Samsung, and others. There's many, and all we are saying, they must come together and join hands in ensuring that they can help South Africa migrate faster. And of course, it also benefits them as the manufacturers, because they'll be making money out of this. Remember, it's not only money meant from government only, because the likes of yourself and myself will have to go and buy from the market. So we are creating a market for them, because we've finalized that has been uncertainty on. When we came in, we went to Cabinet in 2019, we requested that we be allowed to provide a hybrid model, wherein we can allow the beneficiaries to migrate through a set-top box or an IDTV. This we did, Kathy, because we had observed that as we're going to do the oversight of the installations on DTT, some households did not even have the TV sets. Remember, this project is very old, more than 10 years, and the numbers that were given and the registration that was done of the beneficiaries has not been updated, which is what the agency is busy with now, to verify, do these beneficiaries still stand a chance or qualify in the criteria that government has set up? Do they have TV sets or they do not? Because you cannot just put a box and somebody does not have a TV set. And these are the lessons that we have learned as we continued to do the oversight on the work. 2 weeks back, I was in Brandford in the Free State, and the beneficiary had been identified. The teams go there and we go there, only to discover that we had to borrow a TV from next door, and we had to then ascertain to our officials that make sure that before we come here, we have verified. That is why we're engaging local government sphere, because the beneficiaries reside in the wards. Therefore, when we work with the councillors, it becomes easier. Even when we appoint installers at the local level, they're able to visit the households and say, there's no TV set here, therefore you cannot bring a box, you need an IDTV. So we decided to go for that hybrid model, because IDTV at least is not an analog TV, therefore people can be able to top up whatever they need to top up and then have access to information, just like we are doing currently.
Well, Minister, still a lot of details then that we need to thresh out in terms of how the process for migration is going to be taking place over the next month. Before I let you go, one of the last statements to come out of your department was around the retrenchment process that was taking place at the SABC. You and your colleague, Minister Ngesi, of course, had been part of talks with the board. You've told them to explore alternative options or different proposals, really. Can you give us an update in terms of what has come out of those negotiations as we speak?
Well, we received a response from SABC this week. They are informing us that they're not going to go back on reopening the Section 189 negotiations, as the court has ruled on the matter, but they are open on the other components that we proposed to them. All they said in their correspondence was that they are proposing that the negotiations be facilitated by the commissioners of CCMA, who were part of the negotiations from the initial stages. But also they are saying it's important that the unions also should provide them with written inputs in order to kick the negotiation process. That's the stage that we'll be focusing on now as the department, to then go and engage with the unions to make sure that let's do what can be done in order to upskill and attend to the other proposals that have been made. All
right, we're going to have to leave it there. We've completely run out of time. Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, let me thank you for your time then tonight. All right, Mbali.